Hello and welcome to Impact Africa, where we have conversations with diverse people and organizations who are impacting lives positively. At the same time, we use the platform to celebrate people, places, and positive news. I am Dr. Kemi Adebayo, known as Dr. Mama K. And in today's program to share a story is the innovative, creative, dynamic, beautiful. I could go on and on about this sister friend of mine. She is a social entrepreneur. She is Oluwaseyi Kehinde-Peters, known fondly as SKP. She is a well sought after public speaker, keynote speaker, in fact. She's a wife, a mother, and my AWEC sister. You find out about what AWEC is if you don't know what AWEC is by now. And SKP is the founder of Pan-African Women Empowerment Network, PAWEN for short, and Tech Up Africa as well. She is based in Nottingham, UK. SKP, Oluwaseyi, how are you today? First and foremost, you look blink. I love the blink and the green and everything else. And the hair, I could go on. What an honor to have you in the studio with us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Could be better with $1 million, but otherwise.
Tell me about it. So, before we go into the $1 million and the million women you want to impact, Oluwaseyi, what does it mean? And I know it's a Nigerian name. Where were you born and life growing up?
Okay, so there's a long story behind that.
Okay.
And so then, in answering your question, the name Oluwaseyi means God has done this. And this was given to me by my father, actually, not my mother. My mother named me Enito, right? Because the circumstances surrounding my birth were, quite difficult, right? So, but my father named me in Oluwaseyi, that it is God that has done this. And really, my life has really been a testament as to the grace of God and the many things that he has done. So I think, so that's it. Where did I grow up? I was born in Ibadan, actually, UCH Ibadan.
Ibadan, show.
Yes, so I was born at UCH Ibadan, but I grew up in Lagos. I don't know any other life outside of Lagos. Yes. So I grew up in Lagos and had my nursery, primary, university, Akoka to be precise. So my education did not move outside the confines of Akoka. But yes, that's it.
So Unilag, University of Lagos as well. What was your degree in?
Accounting.
Accounting. Right. So this is, you need it in what you're doing now. I was going to say totally different from what you're doing.
No. Okay, so I studied accounting because of my father. So my father was an accountant. There's a story
Let's
behind
hear the story.
There's a story. So my father was an accountant. And he wanted me to study accounting. But I really didn't want to study accounting. I was really good in maths, so I really wanted to study actuarial science. And I actually spent 1 year at home because I said I was not going to study accounting. But after spending, my father was like, you're either studying accounting or nothing.
Nigerian fathers.
And to now make matters worse, his cousin was the Dean of Business Administration in Unilag then. Who was also an accountant. He was the HOD of accounting before he became the Dean of Business Admin. So between both of them, they were like, okay, Professor Ediomolenyiwa, he's quite popular. He's late now, God bless his soul. And he was like, you know what? When you're ready, you come and study accounting. So both of them with good intent of, okay, we want our child to study accounting, right? They had really good intent, but I didn't want it. But at some point, I had no choice. So yes, so that's how I came about.
And what did you want to do? Okay, you said actuarial science.
And that's just because it's the mathematical part of insurance, and I really loved maths. I mean, I was the only commercial student in secondary school that did for the maths, right? So I really loved maths, and I wanted to pursue that line. But thank God for that.
Growing up, how was that for you? What are your fondest memories of growing up?
Life growing up was not as rosy, right? I'm unfortunately, fortunately, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. But life growing up was fun.
Right.
It was filled with family. I think for me, it's the love of the communal you know how it is in Nigeria and in Africa, where it's a village that raises the entire village that raises a child.
Yes.
I think those were one of the most beautiful parts of my growing up. I mean, I recall that our neighbors, at some point, some people were at church. I used to attend Trem. They used to think that was part of the family because, you know, when they saw Ashrebi, they were so for me. I was literally a part of their family. And the fact that, you know, so many other neighbors, I was raised by neighbors. Really. So, but that communal raising up, right? And the fact that people will look out for you, people will take care of you. I mean, I think that's one thing I miss, right? Now you don't have it again. But yes, growing up was a lot of fun, a lot of love. I think that's the word. I grew up in love, right? From my mom's, in short, my mom's best friend was like my real mom because she could, so my mom's best friend could shop for me and you could be sure that I would like it. But my mom couldn't shop for me.
That's an interesting one. I'm sure she didn't like it. Mom probably didn't like that far, although she must have gotten used to it.
Her best friend.
Yeah, exactly. As they say, you're a whatever.
Whatever. So yes, and I was the only child for 7.5 years.
Right.
So that even made matters worse. You know, this only child, she must not be spoiled. You know, that kind of thing. So it was like everyone took it upon themselves to like raise me. So I really enjoyed that. It was beautiful.
All right. As a Nigerian, what are you mostly proud of? Because I know, yes, we have a lot of negatives sometimes that follow us as a country. But like we were saying before the program started, every country, you know, has their negatives. So for you as a Nigerian, what are you mostly proud of?
I love Nigerian people. I love our people. We are resilient. We are innovative. We are creative. We are fun to be with. I mean, there's never a dull moment. I like the Nigerian spirit, and I think that's how I'll put it. I like the Nigerian spirit that can survive anywhere, and that's why you find that there's really nowhere you go in the world, you would always find a Nigerian there. So yes, I like that Nigerian spirit.
Right. You now live, and I completely agree with you. Very fun to be with, and a drama. Hey, you know, get part two.
Yes, sir.
But very, very, we love life as a people.
Yes.
So you live now in Nottingham,
yes,
England, UK. Why and when did you relocate?
Okay, another long story. So why did I relocate? So primarily, I think I left Nigeria to study, right, to do my master's degree in fintech and financial markets.
Right.
Fintech, I mean, personal passion and all of that. And then after living a few months there, I just thought it would be great to raise my children here, right? And I actually think the seed was sown in 2015 when I went because this is my second master's. I did my MBA from University of Bradford. Right.
Always studying.
And then I had brought my children along with me, and they really liked it there, right? And I think since when they came for my graduation, they had been that desire for them to move. You know, they kept comparing UK with Nigeria, and all of that. So I just thought, you know what, why don't I just give them that opportunity to get a better education, to get ahead in life, really. So it's really for my children. The relocation is for my children, and they're happy, I'm happy.
I was just going to ask that. How is life there? So far, they're happy.
Oh, they are happy. And I think for me, you know, it's my son is in year 9 or GS3, right? Year 9, right? And he's already designing website. He's already, I mean, my son, when he wants to tell me, okay, so like for Christmas now, he does a PowerPoint presentation.
Wow.
With the different gifts he wants, with the links, and you need to see the animations on the presentation. This is just a presentation on what he wants for Christmas. So he gives me different options, gives me justification of why he wants each option, gives me the link.
I want to meet him. Yes, that's detailed in terms of.
No, that's what I tell them to do. So even my daughter, who is just about 10, she's learned how to do a PowerPoint presentation. Now, these are things that they learned in school. They probably won't have, when they were in Nigeria, they were not learning those things, you know. So it's just the ability for them to learn life skills. So for me, I grew up in Nigeria. I'm an academic. I like book and all of that. But you see, it's not really the academic work that helps in this day and age. It's the application. So I like the fact that they're learning applied things that is useful for them in the day-to-day life. So yeah.
Interesting. So now let's go back to your work. Obviously, you were doing other work, HR, you were in your past life, and you're now a social entrepreneur. Why have you decided to go that path? And you've started your organization, which you're going to tell us about. So why did you decide to go that path, and when was the organization started? All your Tech Up Africa and PAWEN.
Okay, so I started my career as a HR professional, and I was in it for a long time. I think about 17 years. And then, so I worked in different organizations. So at some point, I was working, so one of the roles of HR is to coordinate strategy retreats for organizations and all. So I was HR director, and yes, I was coordinating that. And I'd done all of that, and then I presented it to my chairman. And he then said, oh no, we're not going to get an external facilitator. You are going to be the one who will champion strategy for us this year. I'm like, so what? Yeah, no, I don't feel comfortable. And this was me less than a year in the organization and all of that. So he threw the challenge to me. And of course, I'm not one to balk at any challenge. So I took it on and I said, okay, yes, I'm going to do
Resilient,
this. As always. And then when I did it, I got a standing ovation from everybody in the entire team. And inshallah, I'll never forget, my chairman then gave me a bonus of, I think, about $2,000.
Wow.
He was like, and it was just my job that I was doing, but he was like, you did that excellently, and he was impressed. So subsequently, he then said, you know what, we're going to promote you, be in charge of strategy, corporate services, and HR. So that's how I started strategy, right? I actually realized that, if there's anything in my entire career that I've enjoyed the most is strategy. I love to plan. It was just really beautiful. And then after that, I got promoted to be the managing director of one of the subsidiaries. And then after that, we had some organizational issues, right, which necessitated me stepping aside. And after stepping aside, I just knew for many years I'd had this kind of this feeling of I was made for more. All right, I wasn't happy. I was doing great work. I was training out. I was meeting my KPIs. I was being promoted every 2 years. Everything was great, but I felt like the work was not fulfilling. Like that, I was made for more. I tried to leave the organization thinking, no, it had to do with the organization, but things didn't happen. So when I had to leave, I just thought, you know what, I think this is a time for me to start what I always wanted to do, which is to empower women, right? And also, after, having that phase of life, I just wasn't even mentally ready to go work for anybody else again, right? So I just said, you know what, I have what it takes, right, to set up. And in all fairness, I really wanted to set up my own business. I remember my friend coming to the house and say, "Why are you doing?" And so, because it was a not-for-profit organization. That, why don't you just start a business? You do well and all of that. I'm like, no. At this point, what I want is fulfillment and not money. Money is good, right? But there comes a point in time when you're like, what impact am I going to make in the world, right? So that was what then birthed PAWEN. And interestingly, we started just before COVID started. And, it was designed that it would be a virtual organization. And, when a lot of people asked me, not a lot, my uncle one asked me that, oh, why did you set up PAWEN in such a way that it was remote first, right? Did you know COVID was going to happen? I said, well, if I knew COVID was going to happen, I was going to I would have borrowed all the money that I could, right, and bought trucks of face masks, and I would have become a billionaire by now, But I said that was the cheapest way I could run the vision that I had in my head. Because I think. I like to say, now, PAWEN is a vision from God, right? Because if you look at the design and how we have evolved over the years, you realize that I couldn't have thought of have birthed that organization. I mean, why did I think of going Pan-African, right? I could have just done Nigerian.
Yes.
Even till date, I still don't know how. I don't know why or I don't know what. But I think the mandate was that you are going to go across Africa. As at that time, I really didn't know many people outside of Nigeria. But yes, it was a mandate from God. And yeah, we started.
Wow. So what do you do at PAWEN? What are the services you provide? And probably Tech Up Africa. What's that about?
Okay, so let me talk about what we do in PAWEN, and I'll talk about how Tech Up Africa started. Okay, so PAWEN is a social enterprise that empowers African women, irrespective of where they are in the world, with the competence, the confidence, and the connections that they need to succeed in business and in their careers, right? That has always been our vision. That would remain our vision. 3 key things: competence, confidence, and connections. Because we realize that women form about 50%, more than 50% of the population in Africa, and we are the ones that are most hit when you have things like anything negative, right? We are the ones that are most hit, and we are the core of the society. The level of education of a woman or the level of prosperity that a woman has reflects significantly on the level, on the outcomes on her children, right? So if you really want to grow a continent, and which is the continent of Africa, what we need to do is to empower the women. If we empower the women, Africa will grow, Africa will blossom. Right, so that has always been the focus, to create economic impact for women, right, as a tool towards, uplifting Africa, right, contributing my own quota into, the growth of Africa. And so when we started with entrepreneurship, because I've always been passionate about entrepreneurship, and I know that the quickest and the most sustainable way of really empowering women is through entrepreneurship. But at some point we then realized that some people are not just cut out for entrepreneurship. Some people want to work in 9 to 5, right? And then we came up with programs for them. At some point we realized that, not that I'd always known that, tech was the future. And as a tech person myself, right, I wanted to explore ways of bringing in more women into tech. So we started our Women in Tech conference, which was it was really massive. I mean, we had 2 phenomenal ladies, one who was the CEO of Flutterwave then, and another who was the head of Africa for Microsoft, right, join us as keynote speakers. And we also had a grandmother. She's German. She started coding at the age of, she was 55, and she started coding at the age of 50, right? And we had a 14-year-old protege who was not also coding, but she had an organization, an institution that was helping teenagers of her age to also code. I mean, who does that at 14 years old? You're not only...
you're getting more of your...
You already have an institution. I don't even know how legal that is, because I think you must be 18 before you can set up a company. But yeah, she just had her organization. So we featured, phenomenal women like that. And then we then realized that, we had to take this out of PAWEN. Also because our research and some of our mentors also advised us that, especially for tech education, it's better to have a blend of genders, that you realize that the outcomes for women are better when you have a blend of genders, especially for tech. And then I had a fantastic staff. I mean, I always say this, Tech Up Africa was the baby of one of my staff, Gift Kenneth, Gigi, fantastic girl. She literally, took the vision and ran with it. And then here we are, 3 years after Tech Up Africa. So when we started in 2022, our goal was to empower 100 people to start a career in tech. Today we do 1,000 people annually. Wow. And for 2025, our goal is to do 2,000 people. We want to double that.
Awesome.
Right. So Tech Up Africa is typically for young Africans who want to start a career in tech. And we'll provide you with scholarships, right? And free of charge. All you just need is willingness to learn, a computer, and access to internet, right? We'll provide you with everything else. Scholarships, mentorships, and a community to learn. And then access to, resources that would also help you in your journey. So that's Tech Up Africa. So that's where we are. And then we still continued with PAWEN. And we're really doing great stuff. And in the past, we're going to be 5 in January. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. We've directly trained over 3,500 women.
Wow.
In various programs.
That's good impact. So I know we're going to take a break in a minute, but I would just want to ask this bit for this segment. So for you, what has been the biggest challenge that you've had to face, and how did you manage it, either with PAWEN or with Tech Africa? Just one, because I know there would have been many challenges, and especially as a social entrepreneur. And kudos to you with all the impact you're making and targeting, more people. More impact, from 2025 as well. And at the same time, the challenge, but I want to hear, what are you mostly proud of? Going to be 5 years next year. And what are you mostly proud of? So those two things before we go for a quick break.
Okay, so the biggest challenge for any social entrepreneur is funding, right? It's always funding. I can tell of the many zillion things that we can do if we had funding. In short, I always tell people that for the first 3 years of PAWEN, it was self-funded. Everything was funded from whatever savings I had, right? But yeah, in the 4th year, we started getting some kind of funding. And that was when we moved really from a total not-for-profit model to a social enterprise model where we do have some courses that people do have to pay for it. It's heavily subsidized. So, perhaps a course that would cost maybe like $1,500, we are saying, we'll come and do it for just $150 or $200. But at least that was income for us, and we're able to use that income to then provide free training for the underserved. So funding has always been an issue. I'm not saying we have solved it, but I think we have come up with a model that at least allows us to continue to exist as an organization. Because if we had not done that model, PAWEN would have had to die at some point. Right. What am I most proud of? I think for me is the impact.
Okay.
So yes, we have the numbers, we have all those things, but it's the lives that are truly transformed. I mean, some of us beneficiaries will say, I'll give an example. The lady that I said really went on with Tech Up Africa, she was one of our beneficiaries. Gift, yeah. And she was one of our beneficiaries on the Aspiring Entrepreneurs Program, and she was transformed. She said we really saved her from going into a partnership that would have ruined her life, based on the learning that she got. So she was really, 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 really excited. And, so for me, it's those lives, is the impact in the individual lives, there was a lady who had been managing, she's from Cameroon, and she'd been managing the family business for a while. And then when her father passed on, the thing in Africa now, all of a sudden the family did not see her fit to run the family business, something she had run efficiently for over 10 years whilst her father was alive. But because she's a girl, she could not run the family business. And they literally snatched the business away from her, and she then had to start again. But she was so excited that because of the training that she had gone through with PAWEN, and as part of the training, our training is applied, so we don't just train you. So she had already started coming up with a business idea while she was in PAWEN. She had started building it. So she said yes, she was angry. She said she cried for 3 days. But after that 3 days, she already had a plan of what to do, thanks to PAWEN. And today that business is flourishing. Awesome. She's doing really well. So it's those stories, those impact stories that really give me the push. And really that's what has pushed me to where we are today, to say, you can't shut this down. There are real lives that have been transformed. So I think that for me would be the proudest. Awesome. The stories, is it, we have people who've set up fintech companies, we have people who've set up legal tech companies. It's just those individual stories that really make me really happy.
I know that. We'll be right back. Wow, Oluwaseyi, SKP.
Yeah.
Born in Ibadan.
Yes.
Went to school in Lagos. Unilag, great Agokite out there.
Great Agokite.
And, started in HR, 17 years. Family fun were all the things you remember growing up, and for you as a Nigerian, the people of Nigeria are what you're mostly proud of, and then sharing with us there about what PAWEN and Tech Africa is about, and your journey and the impact you're making. And that's why for us we run programs like this, is to showcase and to give a platform for people like you, so that it can encourage others that yes, one life, two lives, you never know how you can help, and no matter your background. So my next question for this segment, what are the 3 things that I think I already know that you value most in life? Or it could be things, it could be people, I don't know. What are 3 things for you or people that you value? Mostly things, we say, rather than people.
Things. I think the first thing is the gift of life. It's sometimes we can tend to not realize that it's a gift, right? It's a gift that we need to treasure, because we've not done anything to earn it, right? The people who are dead did not do anything bad, right? So I think first the gift of life, and I think secondly family. Right, it's such a beautiful thing, right? Having the companionship of family, having friends who are there for you. I mean, I am one person who has incredible friends, right? I've been supported by friends. I have friends who hold me accountable. I have friends who really tell me when I'm messing up. I have friends who support me. I have friends who love me more than I love myself, right?
That's good. It's good to have them on board.
So it's so I think family, having the love and companionship of family and friends is a second thing. And I think then thirdly is making impact in life, right? Something I always say, right? A mango tree does not eat its own fruits. An orange tree does not eat its own fruits. We are in this world so that other people can benefit from the value that we give. So a life of impact, impacting people, I think for me that's just what I love to sleep, but right, I can stay up for days when I'm in that zone where I'm impacting on people. So I think those will be the 3 things.
So what keeps you going? What motivates you? Is that part of, the fact that you impact in lives, or there are other things that keeps you going?
It's just the impact. It's just the impact,
Okay.
Sometimes the more you do, the more you see that needs to be done, right? I'm an idea generator. Every time I'm always coming up with ideas, but I'm always saying, look, I'm just but one person. So there's so much to be done in this world. There's so much impact that we can make. So I think for me, that's what keeps me going, to say, look, there are lives that need to be transformed. And a very slight example. My mom kind of struggled, when we were growing up and all of that. But then things changed when someone gave her an opportunity to transfer her skills from being a lecturer to, consulting in an energy company. And that really transformed our lives. And then my mom now went on to not only train us, but to train an entire, I can't even count the number of people that my mother has trained, over more than 100, right? Now, if one person can just provide that impact, imagine what will happen if 1 million people could be impacted. So that's where my vision that in my lifetime I'm going to directly impact 1 million people came from, because it's just so phenomenal how and all the person just did was just to provide a platform for my mom to work, in a better paying place. So now imagine if you can just do that for 1 million people. We'll still have poverty, but poverty in Africa will be reduced. Unemployment will be reduced. Those are 2 key things that plague us in Africa. So for me, those are the things that keep me going on. That as long as there are children on the streets who cannot eat, as long as there are women who have to mortgage their values just because of economic rewards, there's a whole lot that we need to do.
Okay, that's beautiful. My next question, success. What does that mean to you? Would you say right now, Oluwaseyi is successful? And as well, what does leadership, mean to you? You've been a leader to so many from your previous employment and now as well in the category that you're in. What does leadership mean to you? I'm sorry, I lied. I have a third part to that. What are the personal qualities do you think a leader should have? That's my third part.
So here she puts me on the spot, but that's okay. All right, so let me start with the first question, which is
success.
Success.
What does
okay, so I'm a child of God, right? And for me, success would be me fulfilling the purpose for which God has called me into this world, right? That's one definition of success. Success for me would also be me impacting on my 1 million people, right? And that's why some people are like, oh, Shay, you like big numbers when you're looking at impact. I said, yes. If you have a goal of 1 million, then you realize that 2,000 people in a year is not anywhere near. It's not anywhere near your, that number. So, so for me, those would be the two definitions of success. One, that I'm accountable to my Father, who is God, and I achieve that which He sent me to achieve. And secondly, that in alignment with His will and His purpose for me, that 1 million people are direct beneficiaries of my work. So I'm not talking about indirect, direct beneficiaries. That would be my definition of success. Now, leadership.
Yes.
I think I have a very interesting analogy, right, that I use to define leadership. And, I grew up in Lagos, right? And anytime I'm going to work, I used to work on the island. And between Bagada and the island, there's what you call Third Mainland Bridge, which is over a body of water. And you see the log makers they would have felled the trees, and they arrange the trees in such a way that even without their involvement, those logs move across the ocean from one part to another in unity. As in, it's just so beautiful. Anytime I look at it, the logs are, arranged in some like horizontal and sometimes vertical, and they move by themselves. The waves move them, and they glide from without anybody, guiding them. They glide from one end to another end. That's what I think leadership is. The role of a leader is to be able to take the people that work with him or her, right? And so those people are like logs. How are you able to align those people in such a way that they're able to work together towards one ultimate goal, which is achieving whatever the corporate objective is? So if the objective of the team is to deliver on X value, are they achieving that? If this is, so whatever the objective is, for the log man is moving the wood from one point to another without any, whatever it is, as long as you're able to combine the skills, because, as individuals, we have different skills. Yes. We have different personalities, we have different behaviors. How are you not then able to put people together such that, there's this behavioral framework that I use, a DISC model. How are you able to align someone who's a D to someone who's an I to someone? How are you able to align everything together, right? And ensure that the objective is achieved. So that's my definition of leadership, ability to, move a group of people towards a shared vision or a shared purpose. Now, what are the characteristics of a leader? I think first, a leader should be someone who understands people, right? You need to be able to understand people, and you need to have a servant leadership heart, right? Because, see, if you don't love the people that you work with, you can't get them to do what you want them to, especially in this age that we live in, right? You need to genuinely care for your people. You need to genuinely want their progression. And if the people that you work with know that, you care about them, they will go to whatever lengths for you, right? They would. So I think, having a heart of compassion, a heart of care for the people that you work with. And I think a leader should be able to communicate the vision, right? Without vision, a team is dead on arrival, right? So, but you need to be able to communicate it. But communication is not just telling them. Communication is, how will I put it? Communication is telling them in a way that they understand. Communication is articulating it in a way that they see and they know what to do towards getting to the desired point. So I think those would be my top 3 key qualities of leadership.
Awesome. That's Dave. You know what? We'll stop for a quick break and we'll be right back. Wow, Oluwaseyi SKP, I could tag this as a masterclass because your definition of leadership, what motivates you, your values, success, what it means to you, and that analog of the log makers, for me, I need to pay attention when next I drive on Third Mainland. I do see it, but I haven't noticed, what you said there about the fact that they move. So that's a very good one.
And they move for days. Nobody touching it.
Wow. So my next question for our final segment is about life lessons. Obviously, you've had various experiences from HR, now even being a mother, a wife, a daughter, a friend, and so on. What are some of the life lessons? I know we could probably spend a lot of time on this one as always. Important to me, and for the people who watch, to hear some of the life lessons that might help them, that you could go, what, if I'd known about this, maybe I would have done it a different way, or something that you'll be able to say, what, there's a Oluwaseyi, a 10-year-old Oluwaseyi in Ibadan, to say, okay, don't do this, do that. What are some of the things? Just share with us.
Okay, right. Top lessons. I'm actually writing a book, right, which I started. I was supposed to publish it this year, but I never got around to it, but I will publish it. I like to publish books on my birthday, so I will publish it next year, and which is on 40 lessons, right? Things I've learned in my career. So I think this question is just spot on. But I'm not going to talk about the 40. I'll just talk about maybe 3 or 5. And I think in no particular order, the first is patience is a virtue, right? For someone who is highly impatient, right? I have learned in this world that, patience indeed is a virtue. And sometimes time puts things in different perspectives. So what you might think that, if I don't do this or if this does not happen, I'm going to die, with the benefit of time, you then realize that they were not really that important, right? It wasn't really that life-threatening. So that's the first thing. Patience is a virtue. Second thing is, not everyone who helps you is your friend, and not everyone who harms you is your enemy. Now, that sound very complicated, but it is true, right? So many stories, along that, but I'm not going to go into that. But just know, not everyone who helps you is your friend, and not everyone who hurts you is your enemy. A third point, let me see if I can remember. Now, things are created twice, right? First in the spiritual and then in the physical. For you to win in the physical, you must win in the spiritual. So whatever it is that you believe in, whether you're a Muslim, Christian, Hindu, whatever it is, you believe in, your spirituality must guide whatever it is that you do in the physical. Fourth would then be excellence has to be a way of life. You see, you are only as good as your weakest output. You never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at you. You never know whose life will be changed just because you've done something excellently, right? So excellence should be a way of life, and God rewards excellence. And I think maybe finally will then be, don't do life alone. Don't do life alone, There's beauty in community. There's beauty in having people around you. And I think I've said this in so many ways, but community, family, find your tribe. I think that's the summary of that point. Find your tribe, irrespective of what you're doing. If you're a business person, find your tribe. If you're a career person, find your tribe. If you, whatever it is that you are, find your tribe. There's beauty in it. But there's also, in the tribe, there's what I call, there's the wisdom of the crowd and the madness of the crowd. So you need to be careful at any point in time what is wisdom and what is madness. And then you take the wisdom and you discard the madness. Let me stop there. Otherwise, we'll get to 40.
You see me writing. You're really giving me work. And you know, I always write. So for me, that just, those, snippets basically of what you've shared, which will be coming from your 40 lessons in the book that you bring to launch. And I can't wait, to hear about that. They're just so powerful and so deep. So I'm asking now, before I even go to the next question, that I'm going to invite you for a full session on things like that, because that's what a lot of people still need to hear. Not that they don't hear, but I'm hearing, wisdom of the crowd and madness of the crowd, which they're deep. Which probably you don't look into. And then when you said, there was another one for me, not everyone who hurts you is your enemy, and not everyone. So I want to go more into, all that and give people the opportunity. So can I ask at this stage, can we invite you back? I know it might not be physical. It might not be physical because you came all the way from Nottingham to Cape Town, for this. And, well, not for this, but part of this, and we're taking advantage of that. But will it be something okay. All right. So now, what you were talking about, the Find Your Tribe and the beauty in community, we both are part of a community called AWEC, African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative, AWEC. And I graduated cohort 5. And she's my senior cohort. I don't know why she's calling me. No. Jew, who you connected me with, even said you are the grandmothers. So if you're not the grandma, I told her I would tell you. She said, not just seniors, you are the grandmother. We were the chicken tree. So 2 and 5, it's far now. So that was an awesome 1-year program for all of us. And for me, it was a lot, that I benefited from. For you, I just want to share just key feedback on what you benefited most and what you enjoyed most, and how that has impacted your work, as a social entrepreneur. And if you've had any collaboration with any other AWEC sister.
Okay, so I think I'll go back to why I joined AWEC, and that perhaps that would help in. So for me, at that point in time, I knew I was going to do something like PAWEN, right? But it was supposed to be a retirement plan. PAWEN was supposed to be a retirement plan. So at that point in time, I had given myself the target of going through all the similar programs to really understand, one, how those programs are run, understand what works, what doesn't work. So I had done ITC Sheet Trade. I'd done a couple of other programs before doing AWEC. So for me, it was really to understand how are such programs run and how can I begin to structure my own organization. But for me, I got much more than that. I don't even think I got anything significant in terms of structure, because there was really nothing that I learned there in terms of structure that I didn't know prior to that. But I think it's just the beauty of meeting phenomenal women like you, right? And I think that's just it. Sometimes you'll be feeling like, you know what they say about a one-eyed man in the land of the blind, right? So you'll be feeling like a local champion, right? And then you now go into the midst of and when I say phenomenal women, really phenomenal women, I mean people like Mama K, who I really don't think there's any business she's not done, and right, the years of wisdom that she has, backed with her. And there's so many women, so we're like 200 in our own cohort, right? Imagine 200 women. One of our cohort members is she's in public, I think she's a counselor, right, in Ireland. I mean, you have other people doing really great stuff across the world. And so I was inspired, beyond just having a community of women who were doing incredible things. I think for me, it's also that inspiration that fire in my bones to say, you know what, you can do great. If you think you've been doing a whole lot, it's really little compared to what some other women are doing. So I think it's just that communal, which I still enjoy till date, right? Thanks. I mean, I'm here thanks to your work. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that is it's the community.
All right. My final question. I know it's been a long one, but I've enjoyed it, and I've had awesome. A lot of people feel, oh, when we have this chat and interview, or people hear people share their story, it's that way. But more, I actually gain a lot as well from it, apart from our viewers and listeners. So, apart from your passion in leveraging technology for social impact, what social economic issues are you passionate about? That's one. Just one specific. And my question then will be, what are the solutions to some of them if you have your way? It might not be something you're doing, or it might be you're already doing it to address that particular social economic issue. So, yeah, that we can use across Africa, from South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, in terms of solution.
Well, when you say socioeconomic issues, that's what we're focused on in PAWEN, right? And I think at the core of it, are you saying outside of PAWEN and what I'm currently doing with PAWEN and TechUp, or within?
Anyone. But if already you're doing, like you said, using technology, which we're hoping will address unemployment, poverty, but if there's anything else that either you're doing it now or you're not doing it now.
I'm really very passionate about domestic and sexual violence. Our laws in Africa generally really does not protect victims of domestic and sexual violence. And victims could be male or female, right?
Yes.
Even though it's predominantly, more than 90% of DASV, as it's called, victims are women. But you also have men who are also victims. So it's something I actually currently volunteer for a charity based in the UK. I help them to analyze their monitoring reports and also liaise with the government on policies that can help prevent this or reduce this to the minimum. So yes, I'm quite passionate about that, right? Perhaps maybe sometime in the future, perhaps I may, because a lot is being done in the UK around this, but I do not think in Africa generally we have the laws that protect women. I wrote an article recently about the only fragment of what we can even call a law in Nigeria that kind of provides, it doesn't even provide enough support, protection, but it provides some for women. I'm being told that, the legislators are thinking of repealing it. And that's the only thing that women can even hold on to. So, I wrote different publications in different articles, different opinion ads, right, in different publications on this. I'm hoping that we can then begin to do something about this from the position of women. And that's one of the reasons why I like what we do with PAWEN, because one of the things, when women have the power of the purse, right, if they're economically independent, some of those things, right, will not be as rampant as they are, right? A lot of these things happen circumstantially because of, financial and economic issues. So that's something I probably would like, but I think it comes from a policy perspective, to lend my voice and to policy shaping the protection of women in Africa generally.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. The
honor is mine.
We celebrate you, Oluwaseyi Kehinde-Peters. We see you, we honor you, we thank you for what you're doing, impacting lives across Africa in ways, and other areas as well, because you're not restricted to Africa alone. You're about African women wherever they are in the world.
Yes.
And your goal or your vision is to see 1 million women impacted, and as well in terms of the tech, which is male or female youth and so on. So we see you, we celebrate you, we thank you for what you're doing. And we have a small a small token, you know, for you, just to say thank you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
this is from.
Oh, this is really nice. Oh, where did you get this picture from?
Don't ask. We have our secret agents, and this is a product that Bold Moves as well is trying to use as income generation. So when you're sipping your tea or coffee or water
I'm going to do
in
like
Nottingham,
this.
you'll remember Bold Moves and today, and as well.
Oh my! Oh, this is so nice. Thank
it's a small token. Just to say thank you.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Thank you.
You're most welcome. I'm glad you love it. I can say I don't even need to ask you whether you like it or not, but just to say we see you, we celebrate you, we're using this platform just to say to people, you know, and because most of the people we work with are grassroots. So they're people who sometimes feel, you know, there's no hope.
Their voices are not heard.
You know, their voices are not heard. And what you shared, you know, at the beginning, that you were not born with a silver spoon, but you were surrounded by family and you had love, and that's what some people that we work with have, but sometimes they feel it needs to be more than that. So we're hoping when they hear voices like this and people sharing their story, they would hopefully be inspired, you know, and encouraged. So we wish you all the very, very best for the future.
Thank you.
One more task for you. Sorry, I know we finished.
Okay.
But in closing,
we
would love you to give word of encouragement to anyone that comes to your heart to speak to. But we want you to look directly at them to speak to them.
Okay, so you can do magic. You can have anything that you desire. Magic. And that's my message, really. There's nothing you put your heart to that you cannot do. God has placed everything that you need to achieve your purpose within you. You can do it. You can make magic happen, right? So please just go for it. Be fearless, right? Bold moves, right? Be fearless. Take those bold moves and achieve whatever it is that your heart is leading you to achieve. Thank you, and see you at the top.
Awesome. I love that. Be fearless. Find your tribe. A lot. You need to play this, restart, play again, because there was so much packed, you know, in there. And I really want to encourage you to please check out PAWEN and Tech Up Africa. We'll be sharing their social media handles at the end of the program in the credits. So support them either to partner or to even find out what they're doing, or even to celebrate them. Connect. You heard about us talking about how they connect, you know, people together. So connect with them, collaborate if, you know, if that's what they need. You heard about funding, biggest challenge being funding. So if there are ways, you know, as investors as well, you feel you want to invest in such a project for social impact, please do reach out to Madam Oluwaseyi Kehinde-Peters. Well, that's all we've got time for in this episode, and so humbling all the time to share stories, you know, that inspires and empowers and as well encourages anyone, you know, out there, even if it's one person that we're able to touch it. That's good enough for us, you know that. And remember, to share, like, I've been told I don't even push what we're doing, but it's all good. I market in a different way, but yes, share, like, on Facebook, on YouTube, you find us. And yes, if you want to advertise, reach out to us as well. And some of those products as well, the products that we're making as well, to bless and to, you know, be able to have as personalized kits for corporate or anybody else that want to. Well, till next time, this is Dr. Mama K saying, stay safe, stay blessed, stay healthy. Remember, God is love, and stay positive. And you heard that? Take bold moves. And I think I'm going to be using that most often now, because I'm supposed to have been using that. But take bold moves. Be bold. Be brave. Be confident. God is love.